Hi loves, it's me Cherie of My Daily Threads here to share a really quick tutorial with you on my half wrap blouse look that I shared on my blog the week of August 6th. Had a lot of emails, a lot of questions asking me what exactly I did to create the look. So I'm here today to show you exactly what I did to the commercial pattern to alter it to this look right here. And I am in the process of finishing up this look in this print. The reason why I haven't finished the sleeve is because a lot of the questions were exactly how and what do you do to get the looks of the sleeves when you do the pinch and the tuck look. And I said, okay, instead of answering like 40 emails the same question, let's just do this tutorial real quick, knock this out, and go ahead and share with everyone how we get this look going. Alright, so right now we're going to go down to the table, we're going to change the view of the camera, and we're going to be showing you exactly how we alter the commercial pattern. Okay, here we go. Okay, loves, let's go ahead and jump into altering this pattern. So the commercial pattern that I used was a vintage McCall's 3184, and it's this one right here. And I just chose it one because I remembered that I had ordered it a while ago, and I was like, oh, you know what, let me just grab that. I don't have to go through my library and search for the other stuff. So I remembered this one, I just knew it was McCall's, and I said, let's jump right in and grab that one. And also because it was for woven fabric, so I was like, great, I don't have to worry about ease and all this other stuff and all the changes I would have to make if it weren't for woven fabrics. So again, depending on the type of fabric you want to use, choose your commercial pattern wisely. If you do not have access to commercial patterns, no worries, you can use your basic pattern blocks. This actually looks just like a basic back pattern block. Woo, say that really fast, like 5 times. Okay, so you just grab your commercial pattern or your pattern block and you can create the same look, okay? You're going to need a tracing wheel, some pattern paper. We used to use this back in college and for pattern drafting. We used to call it blue dot paper, but it actually has numbers on it and stuff now. And basically the squares are 1 inch apart evenly, so you never have to worry. So yeah, this is what we used to use back in school back in the day, and so I just love keeping some on hand. And usually your sewing supply vendors have this type of stuff. Michael Levine's has it. Nude probably sells it online, or any place where you get professional pattern drafting and pattern making supplies. They will usually have pattern paper. Okay, it's really light, it's really easy. You always never have to worry because all of these numbers on here are exactly 1 inch apart. Okay, so I'll just give you a really little close up of that. That's what it looks like. Okay, we used to call it blue dot back in the day because it did have dots, and not only that, it was kind of reminded us of when we used to do the game Connect the Dots. So you'll also need a clear ruler, tracing wheel, hip curve. If you don't have a hip curve, any French curve, or you'll have to just freehand it, which you can also do as well. So no worries if you don't have one. It's not going to mean that you can't do the tutorial. It just means you may have to do a little bit more freehanding with your little small French curve, which you could do as well. And then later on for the actual pinching of the sleeve, just grab your little stick pins. Okay? And lastly, scissors, paper scissors. Never use your fabric scissors. Paper scissors only, people. Don't mess up your good scissors. Alright, let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing you want to do is don't worry about the front of the pattern, because guess what? It's already pretty much the wrap that you're going to use. So there's so many different versions on this pattern, and I actually used version A. So this one right here, it had the neck, it had a little ruching gathering right here that I wanted, and it just was like perfect, and it was for women. So I was like, yahoo, long sleeves. So I was like, I'm good to go. So I just don't worry about the front. What we're really working on is the back, because your front part is really pretty much ready to go. Okay, so you don't even have to worry about that. So everything is focused on the back. Okay, so what you would want to do is take your back pattern and put it on some pattern paper. If you don't have this type of paper, no worries. It doesn't matter if you're working with newspaper or the painter's paper, you know, the big painter's paper that you put on the floor that you can find at Lowe's or Home Depot. I use that as well too when I'm out of this paper and I can't get to a vendor really quickly. No worries. Any kind of paper that you have that will allow you to put it on the fold that's wide enough and long enough for you to lay your pattern down. Okay, so you want to cut out a square that's maybe an inch or two longer and wider than your actual pattern, and you want to fold it on the half. So as you can see, my pattern paper is folded. Okay, my fold line is right here where you see the center back of my pattern. Okay, so this is my fold line back here. All right, so I take my center back and place it on the fold of my pattern paper, put down my little pattern weights, and then I went ahead and I traced the pattern all the way out. The reason why I do this is because, one, it's easier for me to show you how to create this back if we use it on the fold, and then two, it's just easier. It was easier for me to just kind of do it that way as well. So once we do this, and you get to keep the integrity of your original pattern too, so that's always great. All right, so once you do that, you just go ahead, remove, and remember, if you have a dart, which you should definitely, if you have a pattern block, you'll have a dart in the back. You want to make sure that with your tracing wheel too, you mark where your notches and your special marks are as well. Okay, let's go ahead and set that to the side. Put that down here, and as you can see, hopefully you can see that, I have my pattern all traced out here. Okay, and because it's so bright in here now and it's such a pretty day outside, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. So because of the brightness, you may not be able to see those little tracing wheel dots. So let me just go ahead and cut this out really quickly. I already have one, so it's not about neatness for me right now. I already have this pattern cut out in my paper. So I'm going to just kind of get through this really quickly. I don't want you guys to be looking at an hour or 45-minute tutorial. No, we want to just breeze through this puppy real quick and get you on your way started to making your own version of the blouse. Alright, let's go ahead and cut this shoulder seam. Alrighty, so get rid of that. Alrighty, so here we go. When you open it up, you have your actual pattern. Okay, everything's good to go. There's your neckline up here. See your darts down here. You can kind of see them right there, right? Everything's good to go. So this now is the back pattern that you're going to be working with. Okay? Now I'm going to put down just a couple of pattern weights really quick, just to keep everything down and working. Alright, so here we go. So now we have our back pattern placed on the fold. And the reason why I said it's easier to do it is because when you go to grab your curve, your hip curve, it's easier to just kind of draw your line from here down to create your back when it's already like a one piece, instead of trying to decide how am I going to do that on the fold. Well, yeah, it would be a little bit more time consuming and difficult to do it that way. It's really easy. Just grab your curve or just free line it. Okay, now what you want to do is start at the intersection where your shoulder seam and your neck meet. Okay, so I'm going to pull this down a little bit because I recognize that. Alright, here we go. I'm filming alone, guys, so sorry about that. I might have to move things a little bit just so I can make sure you guys can see. And I have to keep in mind, so if I have to say something over, it's my fault, guys. I'm just trying to remember that you guys need to see all of these little things. Alright, so right up here at the neck, where the neck and the shoulder seam meet right here, you want to take your French curve and you want to make sure that you do not alter that, because it's going to affect how your facing and everything works. So you really kind of don't want to alter that. So that's kind of where you would start your curve to go down. And you also want to make sure that you stay at least, I would say, 1.5 inches higher than your back dart. You don't want to create a line and run all the way into that dart. So we're going to go ahead and alright, so got a little marker, and I don't like using this stuff but because it messes up and it's all over my hands, but I want you guys to be able to see it. So right there where that intersection happens, I'm just going to kind of start going out. Alright, so now I know that I'm going to be meeting that line right there. Alright, I'm going to come down here, and above, here's my notch right there, okay, and above this here is where 1.5 inches above my dart. So it would be really, really good to kind of curve right at that notch mark. Alright, so now I know I have a little mark right there, okay, where my notch is, right here. Have made a little black mark right there. Go a little darker. See that right there? Right there. That's just my guide for me to meet to create the curve in the back. Alright, so now I know. And you're going to have to move your curve around. It's not going to just perfectly fit. You're going to have to move it around a little bit. Alright. Kind of go down a little bit here. Alrighty. So now that is the curve on my back, and I'm going to cut this away. Alright. Now you can add your seam allowance 1/2 inch if you choose to. I did not. Because when you sew your facing and everything, that's still in the shoulder seam and the next, you'll be fine. So I really didn't add seam allowance, and I only added the facing in the back with about, and in the front with about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So I didn't mind losing that little bit, and it didn't affect this area here, because remember, I didn't take anything away from this area here or 1 inch below my neck here. I did not take anything away from there. So I really didn't even start curving until right about, I would say probably 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches. Yeah, about 2 inches down from that intersection mark here. I dropped down about 2 inches, and then I started to curve out and curve away. Okay, as you can see here also, I stayed above that mark where I made for my dart. Okay, my dart is pretty much right here. Of course, it's longer than this, but I just want to give you a, that's not a really good line. Alright, there we go. So my dart is pretty much right here. This is another reason why I don't like using pins, because when you mess up, you have to kind of just cross it out. But it's paper, and it's okay. We can keep it moving. So now, this is my actual altered back piece. Okay? Now, if you feel like this is too much for you, you can get a little closer to your dart if you choose to. That's completely up to you. I kind of like having the security of this coming across my back this way. That way I felt more secure, and I knew that I wasn't going to lose the half top that I did have on. So I just kind of like coming up a little higher. If you want to drop this part down a little bit more, you can always change your line and kind of come down, and I'll just show you. Say you want to come here. You want to just drop this portion, so you more drop here. You can do that as well. Okay, and then just kind of smooth this out a little bit to your pattern. Alright, there we go. So say I wanted to do that, and then if I come in about 1/4 inch to add my facing, I'm still okay. It's completely up to you though. So you just decide. Just remember, when you do that, you're either going to add seam allowance here so that you're not taking away from this space, or if you don't add the seam allowance, which is completely up to you as well, when you add your facing, you probably only want to use 1/4 inch. Okay? 1/4 inch or to 1/2 inch. No more than that. Okay? Then from here on your side where you have altered and you've cut away the top portion, this is where you're going to just put another piece of paper under here and extend your belt out to however long you want your belt. So say I wanted my belt to be this long, I would then just take my pattern, place it on top of another piece of pattern paper, okay, and go ahead, and my air conditioning is running because as you may have heard, it is scorching in California. But today is a lot better. Still a little warm in my studio, so you might hear my air conditioning. Alright, so then you have your pattern piece here, and you have your other fabric piece here. And just depending on how long you want it, you can still use your hip curve. And just kind of extend your line out. Okay. go. And you can do the same for the bottom. You don't really need a curve here, so just kind of use your here. Alright, now I'm not going to make it as long as I did for my wrap blouse because we really just are doing a tutorial here. So you know now that you have your extended belt. Okay, you just kind of draw your line right there. Now again, this is a little thick, so you can always drop down if you want to, or you don't have to move your pattern. You could just kind of go from here and cut more into your actual tie. Okay, you can cut down there, and then if you don't want to use your curve on that part, you can just extend your line and come up a little bit on this portion, so that it begins to get smaller and you don't have a big old bow on your hip. You can do it that way. Okay, so then you can make your line and cross this out. This is the old one. So you can do it and you can have it as thick as you want, or you can just kind of thin it out a little bit. Alright, thin it out a little bit. And there you have it. Alright, grab your piece of tape, which we'll do right here. Just grab a piece of tape and just add it right there. So now I have all this black ink on my fingers. Ah. Alright, and then just kind of cut away. Alright, and I'm just gonna go with the thinner line because my belt, I did thin mine out. So I'm just gonna kind of go with the thinner line there. Alrighty, and then I will cut this portion here. You can clean it up, but again, I'm just trying to make sure I stay cognizant of the time and that I don't have you guys watching a really long tutorial for a really easy, simple project. Okay? And that is how you extend your back tie to match your front tie. Alright? And remember, it's going to stop at your side seam, so you don't have to worry about, oh my God, is it a perfect match to the front? Your back should be higher anyway, because your back is wider. And so, you know, it's just the way your back is. You want to have that security, so you don't want to have a dip that comes way down here like you can in your front. You want to have that security, and this just kind of adds to when you have your back portion come up a little higher. It just adds to the security of the wrap, because remember, you're only having half a front and half a back, and you don't want this sucker falling off of you when you're like out there slaying and being as fabulous as you want to be. You don't want to have your top like falling off and you have to keep pulling it up on your shoulder. Then it just looks like it's bad construction. So you don't want to do that. Just kind of keep this in mind. Don't make your curve too deep, okay? Otherwise, you know, you're going to have a couple of fit issues. All right, so now what you want to do is create a new back facing, because remember, you cut this portion away. That fit up here, your neck used to be up here, okay? So you used to have a little round neck facing. Well, guess what? You got rid of that when you cut it away. So now we need to create a new facing. So we never waste paper. Let's go ahead and use another piece of paper. So we're going to create our new back facing. Alrighty, so we put a piece of paper right under there. Alright. Alright, so we can see all of this. Can we see all of this? Alright, let's go this way. Ah, there we go. Alright, so we want to make sure that we have enough to create the face. Now, we don't want our facing to come all the way down to the back, but a good portion. Alright, because your front, on this pattern, the front facing does not come all the way down to the front either. So, this is the actual front facing for the neckline, okay? And it does not come all the way down to the tie. It does not. It stops probably about, I'm going to say about 3.5 inches before you get to the actual going into the side seam and the tie. You don't want your facing to come all the way down to your side seam. That is not a good look. Alright, so what you do want to do, however, is you know that your front facing is going to fit just like this. So it's going to curve around to the front. So when you have your front facing on here, you want to take it and you want to match it up to your back shoulder seam and neck seam. So I'm going to move this down just so you can see this portion. And what I did was I lined it up here because this is where it's going to meet my front. So now I know that I need my back facing. I make a little mark right there on the edge, right here. Make a little marker. I'll hold this up for you so you can kind of see where I made that little mark right there. Okay, get a little black mark, and that is the edge of my facing. So that's where my shoulder, where my front facing and my back facing will be sewn and attached. So I want to make sure they line up perfectly. So from that little mark right there, set that aside, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace out a new facing for my back. Okay, and I'm probably going to stop, like, it would be really great to stop. I'm going to say, I think I stopped like 1 inch or 2 inches below the dart. Yeah, so let's just say put a mark right there. Alright, so 2 inches below. If I'm not mistaken, that's exactly what I did. Alright, and then you want to just kind of take your, you can either take the piece for the front and trace, you know, kind of make your little mark right there. It's kind of easy to do it that way, or you can just kind of freehand it as well. Don't worry, you'll be fine. So as you can see, it kind of almost matches up, but not quite. So I just want to, what I really want to do is just kind of get this little curve right here. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, you're going over your dart. No, remember, this is just my facing piece. And I'm going to cut it on another piece of paper. So I'm not going to cut away my dart, okay? So I just wanted to kind of go around and kind of get the same kind of curve that I had in the front. That's all I wanted to do with that piece, okay? So then I just went, I grabbed my little hip curve there and pressed down, and I just kind of said, all right, that looks good to me. Let's go ahead and curve that puppy out, and there we go. All right, so now if you mess up with your tracing wheel, you still have your original line, so I never really worry about that. But I just wanted to show you kind of how my facing is going to look. It's not going to be cut on this paper though, because remember, I have another piece of paper underneath. Alright, so I just wanted to show you kind of what my back facing piece kind of looks like. Okay, and then don't forget, trace right here so that when you go to cut it out, everything is all aligned. Alright, and then I had a little notch right there that I forgot to put it. So I'll just kind of where my notch goes there. So I know that now my notch really basically should be lined up going this way. And it should be about right there. Alright? So now I have my facing drawn out, and underneath here, voila, is my actual facing. And that's why I said don't worry about that I went down here by my dart. Don't worry about that, because you're not going to touch that. This is really just your facing, so you don't have to worry about it. And sometimes if I see my line is a little off, or I don't like the way it's curving, I'll just clean it up as I cut it. I'll just kind of clean it up. Okay, there we go. And it's really great to create your facing this way because you're going to get the same curve that you have on your facing that you have on the back of your top that you created. Alrighty, and there you have it. There's our facing for the back. Okay, there you go. Here's your facing, and here is your back pattern with your extended tie. Alright, so here's the extended tie. Here's your pattern, and here is your facing. Alright, there you have it. And you're going to sew it exactly as your commercial pattern would. If you're not using a commercial pattern or you're just using blocks, and you would just sew it as you would your bodice for your blocks. The only difference is, guess what? You're only sewing half. So you only have to sew half of the front and half of the back. So basically, your seams are going to be your side seam connecting your front to the back, your shoulder seam connecting your front to the back. Okay? Then you're going to, of course, add your facings to the front and the back. You're going to sew your facings together and then add them to your front and your back right sides together as you sew. Of course, your darts should have been done first before you even sew your side seams or anything. You should always sew your darts first. It's the first thing you should do, okay? So, and then your front, you don't have any darts, or you may not. If you have a front block and you are using a front that has a dart in the front, I would definitely suggest just kind of pivoting that into your tie, kind of pivoting that access dart and closing it from the waist and kind of moving it over to where your tie would be. So it's kind of like pivoting it over to the side. And if you are a subscriber to Sewn Magazine, you would see exactly how I did that in our second issue of Sewn. I show you about a knit version of this top, but it had both sides. It wasn't half. It was just a knit version of a wrap blouse, and I showed how to create that and how to pivot darts out of it to create a really great knit wrap blouse. So you can find that information there as well. And so that is it for the pattern. That's basically what I did to alter the pattern. No more, no less. Real easy. Zip, bam, boom, done. Alright, now let's go back onto the dress form and let me show you how I do this method for my sleeve. Let's go. Okay, love, so we're back and we're at the dress form, and as you can see, I have this version that I haven't finished the sleeve yet, and I wanted to just show you the pinch method that I use to create the version that you see here in red, and that you see in the pictures that I posted on my blog and social media. So really quickly, you can find the slash and spread method on my website. Okay, you can find that on my DIY and tutorial page. I don't want to do that during this tutorial because, again, it's just extending the length of the video. So you'll find how to slash and spread on my video. Basically, that's what I did to the actual sleeve pattern. On the sleeve pattern, there was a little marking on the pattern that said extend here. So I basically just kind of cut, added in 10 inches in between, then down to the bottom. And as you can see, I cut up to the top, made several lines all the way across the pattern. Then I kind of just lay it down on the fabric and you kind of spread it out. But again, you'll find the slash and spread method on my blog on the DIY and tutorial page. You definitely, when doing this method, want to extend your sleeve, because as you're pinching and you're pulling up and doing those type of things, you are losing length in your sleeve, and if you pinch too much going sideways, you're going to be losing a lot of width. So you have to be cognizant of all of that, okay, when you're kind of doing this method. I usually add about 10 inches. I mean, just hands down, I usually am at right about 10 inches, 10 and a half every single time when I do this type of sleeve. So basically, there really is no rhyme or reason to it. You just kind of randomly pinch throughout the sleeve. Make sure you're doing it in a way that is pleasing to you. I used to think that, you know, it would have to be even. It really doesn't. It's very random, and I found that the more random I do it, the better the sleeve turns out. So I never pinch it quite the same. I never make sure, oh, this is about, has to be 2 inches from the next pinch. No, it's just whatever looks good. So basically, you just kind of loosen up your sleeve, make sure you're not holding the front and the back, pinch a little piece of it, grab it here, and then kind of just use your pen and pin that in place. Making sure you have your outside pin, the point of your pin on the outside of your fabric, so that when you try this on, you're not going to be sticking yourself. And then I just kind of keep going. I just kind of gradually go around and just kind of keep pinching all the way around. Now when I go to the back of the sleeve, right on, to this seam in the sleeve, the inside of your arm, and what I do is I usually match the seam up to the seam. I don't pinch it and move it somewhere else, because what happens is then you're going to be twisting the sleeve. So I will just match the seam line up to the seam line and just kind of do a pinch that way. Okay, make sure it's on the outside. There you go. And I just keep going all the way around until I am pleased with what I see. And sometimes I nail it the first time, and then sometimes I take it loose 3 or 4 times, take the pins out and move them around. But it really just kind of, it takes me actually trying it on and seeing, oh, do I like that? Or that's kind of, that pinch is kind of funky. I don't like that, the way it looks. So I will, you know, just kind of take my pin apart and try it again. And so you basically just really have to kind of play around with it until you get what you think looks great. And sometimes you'll nail it, like I said, the first time, and other times you won't. But that's okay. It's all about trial and error. It's all about getting the pinches and the fullness that you want. Again, I like to have a little bit of room down at the bottom where I'm not kind of pinching all the way, and that I have some more room before I get to the hem of the sleeve. So I do kind of leave a nice little poof, a little bouffant down at the bottom for a little bit more drama. And I usually kind of try and put a lot of randomness right up in the mid area. Then sometimes I will, if I see that there's a little bit too much fullness, I'll make a little pinch here, and just kind of go from there. Alright, so that's basically what I do, folks. Really nothing major, nothing big. That's it. Just keep it going. Try it on, take it off. It's great to have some tailor's wax handy, or chalk, or whatever kind of erasable pen that you use on your fabric pens, so that if you're trying it on and you don't have anybody around, you can just kind of make a little mark and you know, okay, either I don't like this pen, so I need to take it out. So sometimes I'll just take the pen out, but I'll put a little tailor's wax in the area where I think the pen, the pinch should be. And so that's kind of what I do back and forth, because like I said, I only have 2 guys here. My daughter is off in college, so I only have 2 people here, my husband and son, and believe me, they are not about to stand here and help me do some pinch method on my sleeve. No, I can't even get anybody to help video. So I'm kind of on my own on this kind of thing, but you just have to be creative. You grab you some tailor's chalk and just go for it. Keep trying it on and off until you have it exactly the way you want. But that's it, you guys. Nothing more, nothing less. Really, really easy. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to go to my blog and go to my website, www.mydailythreads.me. mydailythreads.me, and you go to the contact page, send me your questions or anything else that you might have. But I think I pretty much covered it all. So I hope you guys have a great time trying to this look out, and that you go ahead and get started making one for yourself. All right, until next time, folks. See you later. Bye.